Welcome everyone to Faded World's Changeling the Lost. How is everybody? Uh,
I'm
so
using cough medicine for recreational purposes. It's great.
yeah, I mean, I have that. You know, you do you, but I mean, if you're gonna if you're gonna do recreational drugs, I think there's just better ones, just much better.
Definitely
Like,
better than cough medicine.
yeah.
Doesn't taste that good either.
Oh, that's my jam right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Switch their own.
Well, I just recovered from a shitty cold, so I feel that. Yeah,
It's
glad to be here.
the
Glad to be
rec
playing some games.
yeah, the recreation of not being stuffed up.
Yeah, their literal recreation.
Um, so there's some new faces today. Uh, if you've been uh watching the Wednesday game for a while, then you'll probably recognize Mark and uh, Umbra has returned. Uh, Spook was here last week and is a regular on the Saturday game. Um, uh, New and exciting are Sal. How are you?
I'm alright.
And Hunt. How are you?
Well, I'm here, and I. It's been a long time since I've gotten to play Changeling, so that's pretty great.
Yeah, yeah. I played in a Changeling LARP for like a year, many years back. Um, so I'm even though the Changeling the Lost Second Edition rules are a new thing, I'm feeling great nostalgia and looking forward to this.
Do you remember any of the hand signals for your magic powers?
Not a one. Nope.
Ah,
Sorry.
well, someone's got to do like an obfuscate joke then.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So I do remember, yeah, the vampire obfuscate, and
But
the
you got little thumb holes as well, Brad.
I never did the thumb holes. I was always just like straight across. I don't know. That may have been a new development, or anyway. The other, yeah,
Still hilarious.
yeah. The other thing I remember, and this is also from Vampire rather than Changeling, is doing rock paper scissors with some people having the bomb. Uh,
So what? Does the bomb just win?
no, scissors beats it.
Ah, okay. So it's
You snip the cord.
okay.
Kind of makes it unbalanced, doesn't it?
A little bit.
But it gets
Right.
more mind gamey in that sense,
Yeah.
I suppose. So
It makes a rock like really strong. I would throw a rock in that. Unless any of you fight me in the future, then I'd throw something else that's not rock.
Yeah,
But
anything
then
that
you
you
know
spell out
that
is
rock is really strong. It's like
Yeah, because rock
Good old
being really
rock.
strong makes paper stronger,
yeah.
which in turn makes scissors stronger, and it circles forever and ever and ever.
Welcome to game design, everyone.
Yes. So we had started talking about character concepts.
Well, if I can maybe just for the
oh.
benefit of
Oh,
people who
before
are
that, okay.
So they've released a preview of the second edition Kickstarter, so it's ugly, and sometime in August there'll be a pretty version, but there is like a functional version of it now, just for anyone else who's like transferring over the main for what I interpreted as the main two big differences, but other people can jump in, is one, instead of Virtue and Vice, you now have Needle, Thread, and Touchstone. I want to say Touchstone as like a kind of alternate to that, which seems really interesting. The way losing clarity and like clarity damage works is really fun, especially as GM. It's good to basically like be able to just throw mind fucks at the players and have it like hit them and have a mechanical way for it. And then contracts are not like sequential anymore. Instead, they're more just like smash and grab perks. But if other people want to jump in with things they're excited about and changes in second edition.
I mean, like
Yeah, to elaborate on some of the stuff you mentioned, specifically clarity damage and touchstones, that's actually one of the biggest mechanical changes. Clarity is no longer quite an exact mechanical analog to like integrity is what they call it in second edition for mortals. In first edition, it was morality. And, it's humanity for vampires, wisdom for mage, that kind of thing. It's very different now in that clarity actually works almost like a second health track. So it's actually designed to go up and down much more commonly than those other stats for other people. And one of the primary ways you get it back is actually through your touchstones, which are bits of the mortal like existence, like either people or places or like objects, just things that connect you to sort of humanity as a thing that you use to like regain your grounding in reality. And I think that's really good for potentially setting up a lot of really cool moments and characterization.
Yeah, like it's overall, I like all of the second edition Chronicles games in that like they have really in each of them tried to tie the well for lack of a better word, the morality stat and the other like these like together into reinforcing whatever it's the game line that particular line is supposed to be about. And well, like I have experience with second edition Awakening, and they succeeded there. And yeah, like the Changeling looks good to me at least, though haven't tried it in action yet.
Yeah. The changes so far seem cool.
Yeah,
Like I definitely think that like needle and thread are a better way of representing motivations in a changeling than the virtue and vice.
right.
Or to that. And I love that the way they're redoing the contracts like that. Seems like there's
Like
many more
even
options.
clarity moving up and down like fluidly is like I like the idea that like I'm assuming the idea is that like changelings are supposed to be like a bit on the unstable side, right? And like that's like building into that like I think potentially like really well.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel as well it's a lot more like, so say if a player was thrown into the sun, I'd be like, well, you're thrown into the sun and your body is destroyed and you die. Could you make a new character, please? And people are generally fine with that. They're not expecting you to roll damage for the sun. They just kind of accept that that's happened. And I feel in the new clarity system, when the clarity equivalent of that happens, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're done, you're gone, you're not there anymore. I feel like the clarity instant kill is a lot more fair because people can get lower easier and get thrown into the sun. So yeah, I think it will be it makes me think of new and exciting ways to try and ruin everyone's character. So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll admit a little bit of reticence to find out that one of the GMs, I think I'm not looking at my camera right now, but things that they're excited about is the potential to more fairly insta-kill people.
Oh yeah. Well, you always took the steps to get yourself thrown into the sun. You're not just going to be like, oh, you wake up and you're hurled into the sun mysteriously like laser waves. You open the door for me.
So tough when that happens.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, it's like you wake up and the sun is there. It's like, what?
Hello. Ah!
The sun's like, where's my money?
You know what? The sad thing is, this is a game where you could make deals with the sun.
Yeah.
True enough, and the sun wants its money.
Mm-hmm. You owe me a boon.
One of the other big changes setting-wise that I really like, and I already talked about this with you guys, but since we're on camera now, I'll mention it again in brief. The courts play a much bigger and more defined role in protecting changelings from the gentry. So it's much more of like the freehold is this community that the changelings band together in because strength in numbers and all of that. And each court actually has a deal that they made with their season or direction or whatever, court structure you're in. How you make a deal with summer or north, I don't know. But stranger things have happened, I guess. But they all have these big deals that prevent the gentry from attacking without following specific rules.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all just great. I won't list them all like I did earlier, but as an example, the Autumn Court, when they're in power, like when they're the head court, so during the season of autumn, the gentry cannot attack, or their agents. That's important. Like they cannot attack the freehold without first giving prior notice of an amount commensurate with how powerful the attacking entity is. So the more powerful, the more notice they have to give. Which then gives the mystically oriented autumn courtiers, a chance to study up on the enemy and prepare to defeat them.
Or to get out of the way.
Yeah, which is
too.
also a thing you can do.
So do we have an idea as to if we're going to try and play today, or if today's just going to be more character creation and stuff?
Well, I was thinking let's nail down characters, and if after that there's time for an opening scene or two, awesome. Does that sound like a proper pass to everybody?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to
Nodding
me
my head.
too.
Okay. So we had talked a little bit about concepts, and I was at the time sort of distracted trying to scramble to set things up. So I
You're
hadn't
making
responded.
an overlay.
Yes, once again. Uh, so uh, some of this is still coming together, but the original German idea for the character was just this image and stolen from media. But I mean, that's where many of the best ideas are mined, right? Of uh, someone who, at least in their Fey mean, has essentially had their head replaced with just sort of a swarm of butterflies, um, and just uh, I was thinking sort of along the lines of at least during when I was making under first edition, I was going with uh, Darkling and the mirror mask thing. And I'll probably do the same here. In terms of the like the nature of their endurance, um, I was thinking is mostly like uh, sort of a lot of like uh, recursion and like uh, uh, running around in like circles, like like in the woods where you uh, are trying to go in a straight direction and find yourself circling back, that sort of thing. Um, I
Right.
hadn't really figured out what uh, their what's the term for the the true Fae who has like abducted you in the first place and is messing with
Fae
you.
is Fae, True Fae. Them as like everything under that umbrella is like the Gentry in world. But yeah, it's like Fae, True Fae.
And it's like, I think
The
if it's
she, if you're a
yours,
Jim
I guess
Butcher fan.
keeper.
Keeper,
Oh
yes.
yeah, yeah,
Keeper
yeah.
is the specific, like the really specific word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Keeper is your daddy.
Yeah, I hadn't figured out uh, what exactly my keeper wanted with my character. Um, and I don't know if it would work to have that be sort of a mystery or not.
Well, I mean, there's mystery, and then there's also like, you can unreliable narrator it. Especially as well if you think the moment that you hit the game, or that you hit like, the mortal plane will be like the highest point of your sort of confusion for a while.
Okay.
In terms of chores for you, Brad,
Yes.
so I believe contracts are a thing now. They're different. You get an amount of them based on cards. You get to pick things. You get to pick. So now it's like these broad umbrellas that you get certain synergy bonus with based on your gubs. And there's also merits. Merits are really important. You may need a fake ID if you want to be on the grid. But then, that would be actually tricky with the starting. Wow, so you're going to have to acquire that in game. Ignore I said anything about fake IDs. Do
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know about do you
Well,
have
I mean,
ideas
could we?
on?
Would it be okay to take some things like fake ID, like like mortal resources, that sort of thing, with the idea that maybe we don't have them now, but by taking those points, they're sort of that's sort of like destined.
Yeah,
I'll say
I
you can
actually,
like not. You can save some of your merit dots.
Okay.
yeah, I was actually gonna ask a similar question because like, and I was gonna maybe try to extend it to contracts as well if we want like court contracts because like the character creation system is definitely not geared towards fresh out of the hedge, and I think it would be useful if we were able to yeah, like you were saying, save some stuff and tell where more to the point narratively where it's actually expecting you to be.
Yeah, you can save up your dots if you please.
Yeah.
I know contracts aren't really dots anymore, but if
Yeah.
you pick one less, you can then take a court one when you join, and you'll be joining courts like really early. I just kind of wanted you to like discover like the court, the
Oh
individual
yeah.
courts and their representatives and stuff like in game,
Yeah.
rather than doing the
I mean,
thing of
like
being like I'm
like
autumn, and then you like meet the
right.
autumn person, and you're like I'm not sure. I all buyer's remorse.
Yeah, so sort of like playing out from the moment of confusion of like you're back. Uh,
yeah.
suddenly.
And I definitely like the idea of playing through some of that initial return. I don't want to be stuck in like I don't necessarily want to spend a ton of in-game time getting from that initial point of return to the more default, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm not going to
I don't
try
want to
and
be stuck there.
like hold you back or anything. It's just yeah, we'll move through it quite rapidly, and I'll feed you
Okay.
the beats for meeting everyone. And
Okay.
does anyone else have character points or like would like to be like I'm up to here and would like input or anything like that?
I'm mostly just catching up on all the new edition stuff. I haven't really had time to read the new version until like right now.
Sure. So the big differences for you will be figuring out what your like needle thread and I've forgotten it now. Keystone, is it Keystone, Touchstone, Touchstone?
Touchstone.
Yeah. Figure out what your needle thread and touchstone are. It's there. Um, a bit like belief insighty, belief instincty. So they'll help you with like your character architecture as well. And then you'll also have to pick contracts, but also you can save up your contract points as well as your merit points if you want to like get a handle on the game. Or if like say you meet a butler and you're like, oh, I want you to be my butler, you can then use the almost Blades-esque retroactively, make them your butler. Butlers are important.
I
I
mean,
can see
my
that.
wizard has a butler, but that's not this game.
Well, I mean, is life worth living if you're not being buttled? Never mind.
To be fair, their butlers, that's more of a cover. He's really a bodyguard. But
I see you have quite a foul situation.
oh man, I hadn't even thought of that. That's funny because I read those books when I was a kid.
Yeah, and they're also like fake.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
It took me a second to realize. Like at first, I thought you meant foul, like as in the adjective of not goodness.
Oh no, it works on multiple levels, like an elevator. I'll be here all week.
Uh, I guess for character concepts, so both of mine are sort of starting from the like general of okay who they were before. The one is a uh, a player of games of like or game such as chess or similar that then spent and like I kind of like the idea before yeah definitely they spent their time in the end as a piece in a game set in the Fae. So mechanical terms, I mean, I would think that they would be an elemental then. Um, and the other one would be like someone who makes something like either an artist or a craftsman. The and there maybe it would be a more like I think it might even just be that is then what you did. I'm my like main idea is like the one that seems really interesting somehow is like being some sort of a dream maker or changer, I don't know, dream weaver. But um, yeah, those are the basic concepts, and then
But okay, Dreamweaver, can you get me through the night?
okay.
Shout out to Wayne's World.
Yeah, I just keep thinking of the Adobe software.
That too.
It's just a programming world.
Yeah, and like so mechanically, I think like that one would be a wizened, um, and yeah, and just and I guess it fits like the that we don't have that much like, if we're starting from yeah we're just now back so it's like you have what you were and like and that memory and then you have whatever insane nightmare or dreamscape that like was the existence with your keeper and then there's now.
Uh, Actually, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that last part? That
Did it cut out or?
no, it just didn't quite click in my head.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
I was meaning that since we're starting from the point of like we're freshly freed or like escaped rather. Um, it like it actually turns out that I thought that it works well that I like a lot of both of my concepts I haven't really thought them much like through like okay what are they now like as changelings since they haven't really been changelings for like except for just a moment like some moments so they don't have a new life.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Hmm.
I will say that I'm like overall pretty interested in the thing that changelings are likely to try to do sometimes of going back to or attempting to go back to like what they knew and pretty much invariably failing at it. Um, because I think it's a good piece of the of what well, makes the game or like the line.
Yeah. I'd be interested in a storyline along the lines of trying to uh, find one's way back into society as well, and the difficulties involved. Um,
Yeah, and your fetch, right? That's
yeah.
that's
Oh, fetches. I
Ruin everything.
I don't know if this is the character to do it with or not, but I love the idea of a changeling whose relationship with their fetch is one of just like camaraderie and we're totally friends.
Thanks for filling in.
And it might work with this character because I haven't talked about my concept on stream yet, so I'll do that real quick. They are uh, essentially what I'm going for is someone who uh, actively desires a sort of power exchangey relationship with them on the submissive end, uh, which had the result of they encountered a fairy who was like, "Oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, let's do that." And they seduced them into the fairy realm where they turned them into a doll and took the whole "you submit to my whims" thing way beyond what they were actually willing to consent to. Uh, and now they have escaped. There's like they still they still are who they are in that sense. They still want that kind of life, and so now they're probably going to be struggling with figuring out how to find the balance of like the consensual kind that they actually want without slipping into the non-consensual kind that they got stuck with. and I can easily imagine them being someone who probably doesn't feel a strong connection to their original mortal life, since that's the sort of predilection that a lot of people don't approve of anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably aren't trying to take back much.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely like that that whole concept. Like uh, uh, edgy, but like uh, uh, sort of in that you're specifically oriented towards like exploring those relationships. I think that's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, and I think it is pretty fitting for Changeling as well, and
Yeah.
what
I mean that's why
because also the themes of abuse are pretty sort of
yeah,
on
like
the surface in
abuse is
Changeling,
already a
right?
theme of the game, is part of why, because like this is a character idea I've had for a while in the broad strokes, and Changeling just feels like the perfect game to play them in. You know.
Yeah. Hmm. So I am picking a thread, and I'm keeping going back and forth. But I guess yeah, I like Chessmaster for my needle. Just uh, I guess I'm gonna go with hatred for my thread. Like it's not a hands-on malice. It's but uh, but there's definitely like a indirect malice that sort of suffuses them. That'll be fun to play with, right?
Yeah, I think so. It definitely sounds like a. I mean, there's a very obvious one if I was to be like playing the person who plays games, like could just pick chess master. It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit on the nose. It could work.
But then again, I mean, they like this. They wouldn't have been the chess master like while like in the with their keeper though.
Well, no, but
But
that's
still,
part of the whole thing, right? Is that
yeah,
you
it
weren't
is.
allowed to be yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So I mean that would that seems like a very uh some fitting one. Uh, what about the two other ones? I'm kind of interested.
Yeah, I suppose I could have a bit of a chat about Julius. Like, my current idea is that he was a student of computers back before he was taken. Like this was like late 90s, if I'm remembering the timeline right. That we're gonna do like somewhat current day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was taken at some point like in the late 90s. I think he was like one of the first people like at the his college to like have access to a computer. There was like this one club of people who were allowed access to the one Windows 97 the school could afford. And as a as part of that, I think he was taken, and for him, it's only been like a moment in Arcadia. Like it's like he just stepped through a door or something. but when he came back, it's been like 20 years, and now it's like a whole computer lab here. And everyone has iPads. He doesn't know what iPads are. People keep talking about iPads.
That reminds me of
He like pops out in the middle of an Apple store.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Who are you people?
that
What's
reminds
all
me
these
of
round
that
edges?
commercial where there's this little girl who's like fiddling with an iPad and in a conversation and asks what a computer is.
Yeah, that one.
Oh.
Hmm.
In Germany, there was quite a confusion with some elderly because when at the time when iPods were popular, like it's if it also means in German like egg pot. So they figure, what are those young people always talking about? They want these pots with eggs or what? That doesn't make any sense. What?
Yeah, as for my the the thread, that's the like outward facing one.
No, I think that's your needle.
Yeah.
It's not well. It's sort of outward inward. It,
Mm.
as I recall, and it's been a little while since I read it, but one of them is like how you influence the world. That's, I think, the needle, and then the thread is like how the world pulls at you, like what motivates you, what drives you.
Yeah.
So the
That's
kind
the
of things
thread.
that would be a needle are like high concept stuff. You know, the kind of like little phrase that might be a high concept, and then a thread is generally like an emotion or feeling that is the main lens or your tug that pulls you back into life.
Yeah, it's an
Right.
identity in a sense.
And also sort of the thing that you relied on to as sort of a reserve to get you through the durance, right?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, that's slightly touching on the touchstone, but yes, it's the yeah. I'd say it's the lens through which reality speaks to you, and through which you speak to reality primarily.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
And of course, like they don't need to be the examples, but like the chess master, I think that's one is very clear to like. Okay, so if it's how you influence the world, well, if you see it as a game, but maybe you see the other people in it also as like pieces, like you were. I mean, in the case of that concept, and that's like yeah, and that's part of your lens then. Like,
Yeah. As for my needle is going to be the scholar, then we want to understand things. We observe and record. And my my thread is going to be revenge. He wants to find out why this happened to him and get back at the people who did it. Now that he's an ogre, he can punch people really hard. He's gonna do that.
How can we defeat them? We just need to hit them really, really hard.
Vengeance is
I
his
figure-
overlord.
I figured it out.
Have we tried some
I mean,
violence?
it would be good to have somebody who's playing very against the stereotype of their seeming, since here I am as a Ferrist playmate who is just like totally about the social and and like being pretty and stuff.
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, not everything has to be enjoyed. Ironically, if people want to just be one type, it's fine. I don't think we need to worry about like composition. I'm more concerned with just everyone
Oh yeah,
being
I was
into
just
their
saying it
character.
would be fun if there was a less stereotypically their seeming. Then again, Ferrists are expected to be really like manipulative and and forceful, which I'm not. So I'm not exactly playing the type either.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of the the Spider-Man, like the nerd who suddenly got really buff.
right, yeah. Okay, I wonder like how that happened. Like, because you what what do you think made the keeper like uh decide that was like your role?
And I'll just make a note there that because these are true Fae, who the fuck even knows
Right,
should
right.
be a valid answer. But yeah, there's
Or who, like, do you even understand what you're like? It's I think it's
or
because I wasn't like with one of the concepts, the idea was that they don't even really know what the role was supposed to be, and that's also like,
yeah,
yeah, like I don't get it. I never got it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Or it could even be
like
something totally mundane, but also just nonsensical. Like, yeah, he made me into a big, strong ogre man because I wore tennis shoes and a button-up T-shirt. I'm not
Of
sure
course.
why that was his reason, but that was his reasoning. It makes sense to him, I'm sure.
I think I might have a question as a response. Is, do we want to have the God Machine be a thing?
Well, I guess the God Machine is a thing, but it's not like that matters necessarily. Like the God Machine just runs reality. The like unless we're planning on like taking on angels, then it's like I suppose reality runs. And
Yeah, I think the question is probably more, do we want it to be a thing that we interact with in any way, shape, or form?
right.
I wasn't necessarily planning on like interacting with it, but I think it might have been the reason why I was picked out. Because here's like a mortal that's like trying to understand how this other thing works, and and, and maybe like I was it's more that I was replaced, and the my replacement is useful, and I was just like put in there for a while. Like, it's more like taken advantage of for like who I am, rather than like, oh, we have to do this thing to this person. Oh, like, oh, we have to get someone to be this person.
that gives me ideas that I can't tell you about.
Those are the best ideas, I think. So yeah, like my replacement was basically like recruited as like some sort of war effort against the God Machine, and they're off doing other things right now.
Okay, so I apologize. I'm not. I didn't come across details about the God Machine. What's the deal with that?
It's a thing from the Mortal book, like the Chronicles of Darkness core book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if we don't actually end up interacting with it, it probably won't matter if you don't know anything about it. But I like to describe it as if Douglas Adams wrote Lovecraft-inspired fiction instead of sci-fi.
Yeah,
Interesting.
the essential thing is the God Machine is God, right? And reality, it turns out, is operated by it, and it cares not for humans or anything else other than as insofar as they are things that exist in reality, but like in no way for like as persons, and it's
Yeah, and they're
and
all
its angels are very strange. The the funnier one being Jenny, the angel who is a
She
waitress
guards
at a
the
coffee shop.
coffee shop. She guards, Hunt. This is important.
Well,
She
true.
guards the coffee shop where the time travel equipment is kept.
Yeah, the God Machine has lots of plans that no one can figure out why. It just does things and tells angels to do things, and yeah, it spells out GM for a reason. So like,
Yeah, like
Okay. Uh, so, what next? Where are like have people put dots and stuff, or are we?
I have my attributes and then skills, and I'm currently looking at skill specialties.
Okay.
I need to look at.
I require more speak through, so I'm going to get tea. I apologize as I'm a bit under the weather, so I need more tea, but I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hold hands and praise jar while I'm gone.
Can we just do 5 minutes then? Because
Or can
Yeah,
we
yeah.
do
Let's take a break.
Go.
Sounds good.
And give me just a moment to do. Which is over. Okay, so yeah, we'll be back shortly. Please stick around or look for
Come
and
back.
click on the second half of the video. Thanks.